What's going on, y'all? This is Mike Brown, and I want to welcome y'all to this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. It's a special episode today. This is our 5th year anniversary. So if you go to theartoflettinggopodcast.com, theartoflettinggopodcast.com, we do have merch available, special edition 5th year anniversary merch. And I have a special guest on the show, Anthony Valadez. I started this podcast because he had a podcast about podcasting and how easy it is. So check us out. Enjoy the show. It's The Art of Letting Go. 5 years ago, that's when I started the show. So here we go. 5 years in, I'm still letting go. Had to find a beat from the guest I have on the show. Took a little minute to record, but we did it. Could possibly my best episode. Who am I kidding? 5 years ago, we were both on the grind. He had a podcast directly inspired mine. We in the present and stick to divine time. Been 5 years, but I still feel like I'm in my prime. Yes, I'm gonna get to the episode. Shout out to Jorge for questions he send in every show. I appreciate y'all giving me the space to grow. You ain't know this was the art of letting go. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You nervous?
Nah.
Do you get nervous?
Yo, what up? This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Today, I have a special guest in the building. We recorded our first episode in the pandemic.
Wow.
But, yeah,
It's
a long time ago.
Wow.
But I met you right before the pandemic. And, again, just kind of giving the listeners a recap of just who you are.
By the way, that's my dog. That's purring. That's my dog for context. It's not my stomach. It's not Mike's stomach. Okay, so what happened? I'm sorry about that.
Met you at the beach. Was with my parents and told you about, like I said, your podcast that was about podcasting. And it just was so simplified that I had to start a podcast. And 5 years later, here we are today.
I remember that because I think I was walking my dog.
Mm-hmm.
We were on right here on Brooks. And I remember you stopped me. And I was like, because, sometimes you do things and you don't know. I always make the reference of throwing the football into darkness and you don't know who catches it.
Yeah.
And like, that's a testament of you catching the ball.
Man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Of course.
You mind introducing yourself to the people?
Yeah, of course. Hello, people. My name is Anthony Valadez. I am a DJ in Los Angeles. I also host a radio show. I'm a co-host on Morning Becomes Eclectic. And I had several podcasts. And here I am sitting with you, the Mike Brown.
I appreciate that. How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. It's been a really crazy week in a good way. Just talking to storytellers and creatives.
Yeah.
Talked to film critic Elvis Mitchell today, who's an amazing. His documentary drops tomorrow on Netflix. But like, just absorbing his information, and then another cat by the name of Shaka Mali.
I heard that yesterday,
man,
and that really inspired me to do the radio because I was gonna do it, but listening to his story, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this radio, radio run, yeah.
And if not this year, next year, like I mean,
no, for sure,
don't feel pressure.
Yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah, I feel like excited about it, and actually, I'm gonna do it with some friends. I'm not doing it alone.
Okay,
so it's gonna be dope.
Yeah. So my energy is based around that. It's just like, it's one of the great things about my job is like, I just take a little something from someone, a little piece of the DNA, and then I move forward with my day and I have that DNA with me. And then it just accumulates all this creative DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Where were you at 5 years ago?
I don't know. What year? We're 2023, 2020.
2017.
Oh, I was on the grind.
Yeah.
I was on the grind. I was doing a lot of content captures for radio. And I was doing podcasts. Everything was DIY. I think I was doing it DIY to get on people's radars.
Yeah.
And we had talked before we hit record, but like I was doing a lot of stuff to showcase what I can do and to just pop up and Smed. And to show my presence of what, and also to like take people into I knew I had the attention of people.
Yeah.
But like I wanted to take my listeners into places where they may have not ever been.
Yeah.
And also to connect with my audience in ways that I felt like a lot of these institutions that I represented didn't, and capture that magic and tell stories.
Yeah.
And so at that time I was doing a lot. As a matter of fact, we're recording right now in my living room. This used to be like a studio full of like recording gear, camera gear, because this was like my workspace.
Yeah.
Now I'm at a point 5 years later, we're sitting here. I realize this metaphor. It's now a living room because I created my boundaries. This can't be a place where I work. I mean, I have a little studio over there, but like this needs to be a place where like I can relax, light candles, light some incense, put on some wrestling or something, and like relax.
Yeah. Because I was listening to you as you were saying you were on the grind. Like how do you find balance now? 'Cause I'm sure it's probably hard to think about how you were finding balance then, but how do you find balance from the grind to like just being a human and living life?
It's weird. That's a great question because I think I blur the two, whether I want to admit it or not. Like I'll go about my day walking my dog, and then I see like a moment in front of me. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta take a photo of that, post it on the gram, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Like I'm learning at my age now to like, not everything needs to be shared on Instagram. Not every thought needs to be shared on Twitter. Sometimes I could just keep it intimate and keep it with me.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be shared, but we live in such a shared culture. So like that's what I wrestle with right there.
And that's what I'm struggling with because I don't like take breaks from social media to like be some type of mysterious artist or some shit like that. Like sometimes I just need the mental break of it. But it's like, how do you
yoga?
Right. Yeah.
And surfing, like being in the water. Like, come on.
Okay.
Like when I grew up, I always thought surfing was such like a white boy thing. And like, I get it. Like surfing isn't. It's Zen. It's turning off your Mac, your phones, whatever technology, and you're one with the ocean.
That's probably the most free that I've ever felt was surfing. I took a class during the pandemic, and I caught maybe like 2 waves, but I was smiling the whole time. And one of the people that was in the water told me, he's like, "Why are you smiling?" I was like, "Man, it's my first time out here. Like I never imagined in my life that I would do some shit like that."
Same.
So, yeah.
No, but let me ask you a question. When you caught the wave, how did you feel in that moment?
I felt fucking free.
Right?
Yeah.
But did you feel, maybe you didn't, and it's okay if you didn't, but did you feel aligned with nature? It's okay if you didn't.
I don't think I thought about that, honestly. But that's interesting.
We all have different takeaways from those experiences. But for me, it was like, wow, I'm riding a wave.
Yeah.
And like, God, I sound like such a freaking weirdo. like the thing I learned in yoga, and again, this is all like new to me because growing up, yoga wasn't something I was supposed to do, or surfing. Like these were things like that other people did. And like, the cool thing about yoga and surfing is the fact that you're present, number one. Secondly, these metaphors of like the waves is the earth breathing. It recedes, it inhales, it exhales.
Yeah.
And when you're a part of that breathing process on your board and you're riding that inhale or that exhale, it's like, wow. I know I sound totally spiritual right now.
Nah.
I'm really not. But it's just like that these moments happen, and like I want to push pause and reflect on these moments. And like that's what it feels like, you know?
Yeah. Man, I think experiences like that are what brought me to LA, because I don't know if there was enough for me being in the South.
What part again?
Houston.
Okay. Congratulations.
I appreciate that.
World Series champions.
Yeah. But yeah, like being out here, I just feel like I've been exposed to so much, and you know, through like the podcast, that's my way of like bringing that back to my people. You know,
when you say bringing it back, I feel like you're also connecting, and I feel like you too are throwing the football into the unknown.
You know what? I am. And it's funny you say that because, man, like through this podcast, I've shared so many of my experiences that I do get that come back to me like, hey, man, this is what's so trippy to me. When I first started this shit, I didn't think about who was going to listen, who was for. It was just like, I just need to do this shit. I just need to get off my feelings. And as I would do it, and I started getting into the business of it, I started trying to shape like what my audience was going to, because, you know, I've done like all them programs like, what's your audience? What's your why? What's this? And I was like, okay, my audience is going to be black and queer. Bullshit. It was like all just black men in general, and like mothers and women, and a lot of these white women hitting me up. And I'm like, well, where are the queer people at? And then, like, I would say maybe in the last couple of years, I've been starting to get hit up by men that are going through their own sexuality struggles, like trying to figure shit out. So it's like, oh, like me just putting that energy out into the world. Like, even though that may not be my core, but those people that need that are finding it. And it's beautiful, man. And, you know, something that has been bothering me, not really bothering me, but something that's been on my mind a lot is being put in a box. And because I've done so much work on myself through this podcast, being put into this mental health box, and I put this pressure on myself for like, oh, everything has to be mental health. But it's like, everything doesn't have to be trauma and, you know, like just the negative parts of mental health. Like, I'm trying to be more conscious of like expressing my joy, expressing the things that make me feel good, you know? Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because on two fronts. Number one is I'm learning that I post a lot of like, and again, it's not intentional. Like, I post for whatever, any purpose. It's Instagram. I'm just sharing with people. But like, I noticed that I tend to share a lot of cool stuff, like with nature, whatever, or stuff that I think is cool, by the way, maybe not cool to you, but also like, what's wrong with posting that you're having a hard day?
Yeah.
Like, and that's one thing that I'm starting to get into, like being more open about life, because the fact is we all go through shit.
Yeah.
And then secondly, to your point, it's funny that, it's not funny, but the fact that I've noticed that these institutions that we work for love to, well, it's trauma month, or it's it's LGBTQ Pride Month. Like, how do we jump on this? And then they find creators, and then you become the portal to these worlds for them.
Yeah.
And then also from the other side, from creators, like, you know, a lot of times, like, we celebrate who we are, whether we're Latino or whether we're African American. And like, we celebrate this. And then as we become more successful, then I've noticed with creatives are like, I don't want to be put into a box, but like, you were championing that box on your way up. And it's interesting. And then a lot of us, you know, we want to like break free of that. And like, well, no, I don't want to be boxed in, but like, that's what you were riding.
Yeah.
And I see that. And honestly, it's like, there's no right or wrong in this. It's all about identity. And we live in an age now where like, we're defining who we are, and it's beautiful. Like, I like to step back and just really take a look at this, you know? And I have, by the way, like, if you're a creative, I feel like you can do or say whatever you want. It's when these institutions step in.
You're right, yeah.
And then incorporate that into your tagline to sell you.
Yeah.
That's where I have an issue with it.
You are absolutely right. Because, you know, as you were saying that, I was thinking, like, even the stuff I talk about now, like I said, this has all been about my journey. So I am talking about my journey as an entrepreneur, my challenges, overcoming those challenges. And it is still tied into all those words like mental health, you know? But sometimes, like, I'll give you an example. Maybe 2016, 2017, I had put out a meditation album just because I felt it. I felt it. I was in a space where I needed it. I was recording myself, but I don't want to force meditation albums just because my podcast is about mental health.
But it's how you felt at that moment.
Exactly.
So it is what it is.
Exactly.
Don't be so heady about shit. I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, I think we as humans tend to like, I don't want this to appear as, and I get that. I'm guilty of that just as much as anybody. But it's like, the justification is that's what you felt. You created it.
Yeah.
Share it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what I did. I did put it out. I did share it. But to like do it again or force it again, I don't want to do that.
Where's the forcing coming from again?
I guess for me, because people have asked me for it. And that feeling of like, feeling like I have to produce because somebody has asked.
But if you don't feel like doing it, just don't do it.
That's true.
I mean, it's that simple.
It is.
But it's not simple too, because as a human, I get it. I actually, I'm like telling you, and I'm like debating myself in my head. I feel you.
and that I feel that, and I can see that for you because you do music as well. And I mean, I've heard some of your music and been like, why are you not doing music?
I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I feel like in this time, creatives can now take breaks. Like I get people that ask me, and I'm like, yo, how do you know about my music? But it's just like, when it feels right, it feels right. And I'm still working. I have like 10 songs on my laptop over there, my computer. And it's just like, you know what I like? The best part is like taking 2 months off. Yeah. And then revisiting it, hitting play, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. Or, meh. You know, I like taking a step back. And it's been maybe 4 years, 3 years, but it's cool. Yeah. I'm okay with that, you know?
I feel that.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I've been with music as well. Like, it comes in waves, and I've allowed that. Something I thought to ask you just now, though, was what has been your biggest challenge in your creative journey?
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, I think it's now, actually, right now, and it's not a bad thing, but it's like I used to share, mm-hmm. and now I don't feel the need to, but I'm noticing that like things that and I don't really care how this comes off. It's okay, but like a lot of things of what I did maybe 5 years ago, I'm starting to see other people do, mm-hmm. and I'm just like, oh. And now I'm seeing like companies greenlight what I did 5 years ago when I was told no one's going to listen to a podcast. Who wants to listen to people talk for an hour, right?
Man.
And I was so like, yo, like, no, it's the future. Like, trust me. And like, and that, and also like content, like, I hate the word content now, by the way.
Yeah.
Hate's a strong word. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. The word content is like, oh, cool. We were all doing that 5 years ago. And now I use the word institution a lot, but these institutions, for lack of a better term, are like, we want content. I'm like, oh, like, but you wouldn't take my call 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm ahead of the curve, because what I'm learning is that everything comes in time and waves.
Yeah.
And it's my fault for not being on time. That's not their fault. Like, I should have been on time, or I could have championed it a little harder or worded things differently to where they got it. That's where I felt.
Yeah.
So I take ownership of that. But it's just like, it's like, oh yeah, I was doing that 5 years ago. But I'll say it on the podcast, but I'll never tell someone that, like, oh, I was doing that like, I hate that person. Hate's a strong word. I don't hate that person, but it's just like, oh, cool. But you know, it's still great that we live in this time where anybody can create with the mic, with the phone. You know, we're all creating.
Yeah.
And I love that we're all creators.
Yeah.
It's a democracy of idea.
I think that's why I want more people to start getting into podcasting. That is why I created a podcasting course, although I felt weird about selling it.
Really?
I did, because I felt like I was, and I think that's why I've had a hard time pushing it, because it's a really good course. It's really dope. But I'm having a hard time pushing it because I'm like, man, the information, like, you could do this for free. You don't need me to do this. And that's what I really want people to understand. But yeah, some part of me is like, yeah, you need to have this out there.
But you got to eat.
For sure.
But there's also Patreon. There are things that you can do to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And be institutional free. You know, and you can create your own ecosystem of ideas, your own community. That's what's beautiful about 2022.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm an advocate of that, because the minute you start working for other folks, you know this.
Yeah.
There are guidelines and parameters.
Yeah.
Boundaries. But like with the DIY thing, which I'm a fan of, is like, you do it your way.
Yeah. How do you grow this shit? And I guess that's what I'm most curious about.
When you say this shit, specifically podcast?
Maybe not even podcasting, just as a creator. Like, how do you grow your brand or whatever?
Two
you have?
words.
Yeah.
Consistency and quality.
Okay.
That's content. I know you're going to use this clip. You're going to use this clip for your content. Consistency and quality. Boom. Mariah.
That's true.
I mean, it's because I can't tell you how many times people have done great things and stopped because of life, because of a kid, which is all valid, or like a career change. That's cool. But like, if you're consistent and your quality is on point, those two factors are going to help you.
Yeah. What has kept you going in your journey?
Two things. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of two things. The first one is to never be starving or hungry again or broke.
Man.
Like, coming from that, like, come on. Like, I remember my mom used to send me door to door with a note, like, can you feed my son?
Yeah.
I remember stealing as a kid. Like, I used to steal a box of Cheez-Its, a Coke, and a WWF magazine, put it under, and I'd sit somewhere and I'd eat because I was broke. And I loved wrestling, as you know. Yeah. So, like, I'd look at the magazine, it would take my mind off everything. And I don't want that to happen again. Like,
Yeah.
and when I say broke, like I'm not trying to be rich. I'm just trying to create my zen and protect my peace. And then the next thing is is I like that through art and what I do, I can connect people and I can make people feel better about the world that we live in. Because every day you put on a TV, there's like something. This guy's running for president again. This guy's saying mean things, of putting Latino kids in cages. And it's like, or this country's invading this country. There's always something shitty on the TV. So like, how can I counter that?
Yeah.
And I can counter with love. And with love, I can package that through sound, music, and come through our microphones and our turntables into your headphones.
That's real, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
And by the way, I'm still figuring it out. Like, I don't have answers.
Yeah.
I hope you don't think I have answers. I'm just like you. I'm just like we're all figuring it out together, you know? Like, I learned from you. Like,
I appreciate
and by the way,
that, yeah.
consistency and quality, that's you.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. I really do. And it's funny to sometimes like look at people and think like, oh, this person has it all together, you know, from the outside. And then like talking to somebody and just be like, oh, you just a human like me and you figuring this shit out as you go.
Yeah. It's funny. You remind me of something that I remember right before the pandemic as when I first got into yoga, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I was just so amazed at my yoga teacher. She had like tattoos of like life quotes, this will pass and holy is my soul, whatever. and I was like really in awe of her energy. And then once the pandemic hit, like she slid into my DMs and she's like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. And she was the opposite of everything that she presented.
Wow.
Or perhaps she was the opposite of what I projected onto her, and perhaps that wasn't her. But I mean, she always had life quotes at the end of class, and I was like, oh, and then that was a testament of like what you just said. Like sometimes we aren't who we present ourselves to be, and that's not a knock at her. Like she's just like me.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that's my fault for projecting that guru-ness on her, and that's my fault. I take accountability for that. But like regardless, the point is seeing this person that was so high up on a pedestal was just like me. Was like fuck, we're all lost. We're all lost.
I'm starting to feel that as well, but I'm also starting to feel a shift in that. Because I'm starting to see more people finding value in the inner peace over like identifying their value in like money or job or something like that.
I wonder if that's because you've reached this point in your life, or is that as shared sentiment amongst younger creators?
And you know what?
Yeah.
It might be the bubble that I live in.
Yeah, because I think about that as well.
Yeah.
Like, does everybody see this, or is it just me? Is this life in your 40s, or I don't know. But I am meeting...
I'm not in my 40s, by the way.
You're, what are you, 23, 22?
No, 36.
I'm a kid, 36. But I remember, like, kids today are like, or I should say young creatives today are really good at presenting their boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's something I wish my generation did. It's funny. I was thinking about this today when I was driving to work. Like, we didn't have boundaries growing up. And I wonder if that, like, we just knew how to deal with the awkwardness.
Yeah.
Does that make us better prepared? Or, like, when you present your boundaries and you're a young creative to, like, a tech company or to a creative institution, like, that's admirable. And I love that.
Yeah.
But, like, my generation didn't have that. And so I wonder, does that make us not better? It's not a competition, but does that make us more prepared for those awkward moments of like, okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Or does the younger generation have an edge up because like, no, this is my line, I think about this.
Yeah.
There's no answer, but I think about it.
And I think about it too. And I think there is some benefit in like from everybody learning from each other, like being open to that, because I think even with that, there's a lot that could be learned from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because like, I keep saying it's funny. Nothing. I'm not like haha, but like I say that to say that I think we're on the same wavelength, and some of the things you say I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Is like I never like the older person who's like, oh, like you have boundaries? Huh, okay, we'll find another creative. I don't like those people. But it's like, but then I also find it interesting when young creatives are like, this is my boundaries. Sorry, take it or leave it. I'm just like, yo, but like find a common ground here. Like try to get your foot in the door, do something that benefits you. So like on both ends, I'm just kind of like, I'm an observer and I like it. Like you, like there's something to be learned from those moments.
Yeah.
And there's a middle ground. And, but I'm also like, I'm just happy to see young creatives set up boundaries and like, okay, you're not going to fuck with me. Cool. Okay. You know, it's a good time we live in, you know, because like 30 years ago, even like before I was born, like you had to hire professionals.
Right. Yeah.
And now it's like, no, like we want someone who's lived that experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're going to exploit my trauma? Like pay the fuck up. Right? If you're going to exploit me, pay the fuck up.
Yeah, of course.
Because at the end of the day, you still have to continue living with that trauma. And you still, what they exploit, not I wouldn't want to say exploit, but what they bank off of, you still continue to, it's like, I never, like Biggie and Tupac, right? Maybe a weird metaphor, but they had to live that life.
Yeah.
So, but Interscope continued making that money.
Mm-hmm.
And they were beefing, and you couldn't turn off the beef. Like, cool, you're done with the studio, you're cool with the show, but like you still had to fucking live that life and watch your back. Interscope, when they're done, when they clock out at 6 p.m., they're done.
Yeah.
You know, cool, okay, yeah, we're going to market this, we're going to market that, cool, we're done. I mean, to the point where these legends died because they had to fucking live the life.
Yeah.
But these institutions banked off that.
And they still
and
do.
continue to bank off.
Yeah. And I guess because you've worked in music for a while, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that? I'm just checking.
My dog was comfortably resting on your leg, and then you bumped him. It's okay. There he goes.
Why do you think that they put the most money and the most value in that stuff?
Because it sells.
Yeah.
I remember I was an intern. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I was an intern at a label around a time when a certain rapper, I don't want him coming after me. Fuck it, Interscope, the game. Fuck it, let's go. When the head of product management, who's a really cool dude, but like, he said, I want you to watch this video and I want you to pick the clips that will scare white kids in like Arkansas.
Wow.
And at the same time, I was taking a Pan-African Studies class called like Blacks on the Silver Screen. Shout out to Johnny Scott, Professor Johnny Scott, Cal State Northridge. And it was looking at a critical perspective on blacks in the arts. And I remember like, oh, like, holy, this is not in the fucking textbook. Like this dude is telling me, and I'm like, why me? Secondly, why do you want to spark fear as a marketing tool? And then when you step back, it's fucking disgusting.
It is. It is. Wow.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I'm so glad that like Professor Johnny Scott, like at that same time, or I was like, and I told him like, I got to book out because I didn't feel comfortable doing that. And again, fear is like, and that's something that like, I mean, we just passed a midterm election and people bank off of fear to get votes, and people run on presidents. People run for president on fear, and it's like, that's just the world we live in. It's an ugly world. So like, why? And I don't mean to get dark, but like, why would I want to contribute to that? Or why do I even want to? It makes me want to hide in my cave more. It makes me want to. There's a reason why I turn this into a living room. Because when I come home, because I watch the news all the time when I'm in the studio doing my radio show, there's TVs and I see like a high-speed chase and I see this person said that, DeSantis said this, or this person said that, and it's like, it's all hate, and I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's James Woods, a.k.a. That Yoga Dude, with Feel Free to Feel Free. R-E-S-T. Just rest. Rest your body. Rest your mind. Rest the focus. Rest with every breath. Let the body relax. And the mind. Just be still. Be calm. If you're taking care of the work you need to take care of, or you're going to. And now it is a moment of rest. Allow it to happen. Allow yourself to let go of the mental and the physical, the emotional labor. lay it down to rest. Take the tension and tightness out of your shoulders. And allow your breath to release in your mind and your body. Let's take a deep inhale, breathe in. And a long, slow exhale. Inhale. Exhale, soft, released. Deep breath in. And let the exhale carry away any work, any heavy lifting as you land into rest. As always, feel free to feel free. And namaste. Peace.
Yeah, man, I think that's the goal, to really just contribute more love to the world.
It's so much easier. Like, why would you want to contribute anything else but love?
Right.
I mean, love is free.
Yeah.
You know, and like to hate, hate requires so much energy. I even hate saying the word hate, and I check myself, as you heard twice or three times. It's such an ugly word, and like, I think about too, like in the Middle East, at the end of the day, you know, the two fractions, like, I'm sure they all want what's best for their children. I'm sure they want what's best for the other side's children. Like, why can't we keep that in mind? Like, what's going to benefit our region's children, not just our children, but like our neighbor's children? Because at the end of the day, our neighbor's children can protect our children and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, how is that not like a marketable tool there, like to unifies? Like, if we can all love, we live longer. More. It's just like conflict. Why? What is the good in conflict?
Yeah.
It makes people money, I guess. You know, certain companies. But fuck those companies.
Yeah.
You know?
For real.
Yeah. How do they sleep at night, Mike? Tell me. How do they sleep at night, Mike?
I don't know. Maybe on the money.
Maybe.
No, I don't know. I guess, like you said, going back to like, am I the only person seeing or feeling this? I think about that a lot. Like, because certain things I know I wouldn't be comfortable doing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like what?
I mean, I for sure wouldn't be comfortable selling like violence and shit like that to nobody's community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't care. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. I don't like selling bullshit to kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think about that with the stuff I create. Like, I talk about smoking weed. I've talked about taking shrooms. I've talked about, actually, I'll give you an experience I had recently. So I'm talking to my barber about what I'm going to be doing with the kids, hosting conversations about sexuality and sex and stuff like that. This guy in the barbershop tells me that he doesn't think I should be doing that. And I explained to him that I'm doing this because these kids don't have an outlet. They need somebody to talk to before they just go experience some shit that, you know, may not be for them or may hurt them in the long run. And he's giving me the spiel of like, oh, I think parents should do this. Like, parents should teach kids this. Some parents don't know how to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And if I thought that I was pushing something on, because he kept saying pushing sexuality on kids, pushing. And it's not a push. There are kids out there that are actually a part of the LGBT community. They need outlets.
Yeah.
I don't mind being a safe outlet.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I'm pushing something on them.
But maybe the issue is with the word push.
Yeah.
If you can substitute that word with that person, like, I'm teaching. Because sometimes words, I mean, all the time, words have powers. Like, for instance, defund the police, right?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this. Like, I do think that we should fund more educational programs.
For sure.
For officers. And But the word the minute you say the word defund, you turn people off.
Yeah.
The word defund, or even let's get to abortion, right? Pro-life or pro-life. I mean, that sounds like, of course, we're all pro-life. Everybody's pro-life. Right. No one wants anybody to die.
Yeah.
But again, that word, you one-upped us, or I'm an ally. Fuck it. I'm an ally of having a choice, right? Choice. Yeah. What's wrong with a choice? Like, who could disagree with that? But again, the marketing is pro-life, which automatically, like, fuck, you win, life. But low-key, they're the same people who want to push wars and, like, kill people and death penalty, right? But whatever. That's a separate conversation. But my point is words have power. Yeah. And so him saying pushing, he's got a point. You're pushing. But the fact is, you're not pushing. Right. Substitute that word. Right. But will he get it? I don't know. But that's just my 2 cents.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. Because I felt myself being very defensive. And after I was done with the conversation, because I had a meditation so I wrote a children's book a few years ago, and I talked about my experiences as a kid. It's a book about crying. And there was a part I talked about having a crush as a kid and it being a boy. And I was like, damn, am I pushing sexuality on kids? But it's like, there is if I felt this as a kid, there is some other kid out there.
But think about the other kids too who can learn from that.
Yeah.
Like, you're still teaching all.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're empowering and you're teaching at the same time.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Because I wish I had a Mike Brown growing up to teach me, because I was ignorant as a kid. Yeah. Like, that was the worst thing you could do, is be called the F word. Like, oh no, because I'm 9 and I need to prove my manhood. Yeah. But if I had a Mike Brown to teach me, not push me, but teach me, it's like, okay, like, you're calling me that? Like, I'm one of them? That's cool. Like, cool. Like, whatever. What's wrong with being that? Yeah. And I wish I had more folks like you growing up to enlighten.
I appreciate that, man. I do.
We need more of you to do that, you know? Yeah. Not more of you, but like more of your soul, just more folks to enlighten us in general. Yeah. You know?
Man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do. And I think that's a good place to close this segment, because that just felt good. That felt really good. I wanted to go into some listener questions, because I had 2, and I was going to answer them. Yeah, only had 2. Okay. But I was going to answer them, but I wanted to hear your perspective on yours as well. And the first one was from actually my guest from this week, Yanni Blue, and he asked me, when I started this 5 years ago, where did I see it going? And I'd be curious to know, like I said, you had your podcast 5 years ago as well. Like, where did you just see your stuff going? But for me, I didn't really see this going anywhere.
I could relate. I could relate. Yeah.
Like, this was just a place for me to get off feelings, because I couldn't afford therapy. I just needed to express myself verbally, and just get out of my head and out of my way. So I can honestly say I didn't see anything coming my way as far as like all of this. And in the beginning, I used to say it all the time to remind myself, like, I'm doing this for me. Because I've listened to those episodes. It's like, that sounds wild. But I'd be like, I'm doing this for me. Yeah. This is for me. It's for nobody else.
I'll show them.
But I do appreciate the journey of where I've taken this, and like to be at this place, you know, like I said, like doing a video and getting paid for it, being asked to do like different things, and just feeling like, wow, like my voice is important. Yeah. You know,
if you can impact one person, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds like you're doing that.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think for me, to that point, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. But I knew that I wanted to talk to voices, and I wanted to hear people's journeys. And that was fun. And that, for me, it was like, it was really, I wouldn't say I did it for me, but I just wanted to hear and learn, and I wanted to share those experiences, you know? And it comes from like taking the bus, I think. Like going to college, I would always look at people on the bus, and I always knew like everybody here has a story.
Yeah.
Like everybody here went through something, you know? And so to be able to talk to people who are doing what they love is a blessing. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, like you take a piece of that DNA with you and you move forward and you have a piece of that. You're inspired by it, or you're moved by it, or you feel a certain way about it, you know. And that's the beauty of art, is it makes you feel a certain way. And when you can capture that on audio through mics and share that, it becomes a time capsule, number one. But number two, you share that with people who may not know about that person, or can relate, or perhaps may not, and still makes them feel a certain way. And that's the beauty of art. Yeah. Is there a second question? By the way, I wasn't like putting down just 2 questions. I was just like,
shoot, I was just happy to have 2 questions, because sometimes I don't get questions at all.
Oh,
so,
good. No, I'm just saying, because like, who am I? Like, I don't, like, if I was Beyonce, I'm sure you'd have like 60,000 questions. But you got little old public radio Anthony.
I had a question from Jorge.
Okay, shout out to Jorge.
He sends me a question like every week. Actually,
cool.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
So
wait. So Jorge's your super fan. Or he's
Jorge is my
see,
super fan.
You've succeeded.
And you know what?
And that's because of Jorge.
Right. Shout out Jorge, because he's done art. Like, he sent me art pieces that he's drawn with like Art of Letting Go stuff. He was doing some DJ mixes on his computer, and he sent me like, he used like quotes from the podcast in his mixes. It's really dope.
See, that's
shout out
you,
Jorge.
you made it. You caught the football.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
It's all
Yeah.
good. Question number 2.
What are some of your favorite collaborations so far this year? I think he said in music, media, and I think he said fashion.
Oh, that's a great question. In music, I would say there's been a lot of collaborations. I can't really think of one off the top of my head.
I couldn't either.
However, I will say that I am... I'm going to go with an obvious, but it's kind of a curveball. I'll connect the dots. The albums from Salt.
Okay.
Have you heard of Salt?
No, I haven't.
Bro, Salt is the truth. Like, but they're a collection of, like, they're in the UK, and they're like 5 or 6 people. I think this Cleo Soul is one of the vocalists.
Okay.
She's dope. And then the producers Inflow, and then they have like various rotating members. And it's a collaborative project, but they just put out like 5 albums.
Oh, wow.
But you had to download it within 5 days, and then they got rid of the... But like every Salt, SAULT, I'll play you some. Amazing. And that's like a collaborative music project. Regarding fashion, I don't know. Like, I think I used to be really into that, but I'm more of a fan. Are we recording?
Yeah, I'm just
because I can't tell you how many times I've thought I was recording and I wasn't. So, and it's okay. But with fashion, I'm more about collecting. I want to collect memories and less sneakers.
Yeah.
So as you look at my sneakers, Converses, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. Like, everything's a collaborative thing. And like, it's weird. The bigger the name, the shittier the product. Have you noticed that? I'm like, oh, Kevin Durant, dope. This is Vador, or whatever. And I'm like, what are those?
Right.
You know, but you know what? Rest in peace, Virgil Abloh, man. I've been listening to a lot of his like speeches and his talks.
I checked out some of his lectures after you told me about that. I checked out a couple of them. Yeah.
He talks about channeling, like with every creative decision. He talks about. I know I'm not answering your question. Sorry.
That's all good.
But he talks about like viewing an answer through the lens of your inner like 7-year-old or your inner 11-year-old. And like, that's what's going to make you unique. Not how do I appease, how do I make happy the company that's paying me all this money? Like, how do I align with what they want or what I think they want? But rather look at it through the lens of a younger version of you. And I'm just like, fuck.
Do you feel connected to your younger self, your inner?
All the time.
Yeah.
To a point, I'm making a discovery. I just started therapy.
Oh, that's that's what's up.
Yeah, and I haven't really told too many people. I don't like
exclusive
world star. But it's like I've realized that through my creativity, I've channeled a lot of trauma along the way. Like, it's like I've opened this portal of creativity through the younger version of myself. And as much as I look at the world, because I want to, like, how would the 7-year-old version record this beat or do this mix or take this photo? And then along, like, you open a vessel, and then all of a sudden I'm also subconsciously channeling things that I went through as a kid. And I never realized that. And it was like, oh, fuck.
Wow.
So I'm learning how to, like, deal with that, or not deal is the wrong word, how to work with that.
How do you feel like therapy affects you creatively?
Oh, man. I don't think it does, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not that I created a partition. It's just, well, obviously, I mean, yeah, in some ways I feel like, again, going back to, I want to create good art so that I'm not broke again. Right. Because that's probably where a lot of the trauma comes from.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Recipes. It's just I really know how to make things awkward, don't I? And then be funny. It's fun though. It's because I think humor is always what got me through things.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me push away a lot of things that I never wanted to address.
Yeah.
And like I think about things that I went through and I'm like, fuck, like holy fuck, how are you still here? But that allows me to think about things and situations through a lens that may be unique to others.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, how to connect with people. Like, I think you and I, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners, like, we just come from a place of empathy.
Yeah.
And it blows me away how people do not have empathy. Like, how do you not have empathy for this person? I see people, like, just treat people like shit. And then I take a step back, and it's not right for me to check them or correct them, but it's perhaps they come from a place of privilege. Maybe they don't. Or maybe that's me assuming. But like my empathy comes from seeing other people suffer, including like family members. And so again, it goes back to like looking at people like I have empathy, but also like I want to hear the story.
Yeah.
Which is why I started that podcast, you know? So I think wow, that did answer your question. That's what channels my creativity. You know? Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Our last question is from Donovan, and it was I think it was about where do you see things going 5 years from now? And for me, you know, like I said, doing this for 5 years, I didn't expect it to go here. So looking 5 years ahead, I'm wide open to where the journey takes me. I do know at the core of everything I do, I really just want to help people and inspire people through audio. And because I feel like that's what I've been doing my whole journey. Like whether it was making music or podcasting, whatever it is, I don't know what the medium will be at that time.
Yeah.
But I want to continue to do that and just continue to grow with my art and my creativity and just my life in general. Like, because life affects all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I think just constantly just refining this version of me, and I allow it to be whatever it's going to be within that.
Yeah. It's funny because this is kind of a full circle. Your first question was, where was I 5 years ago? And now Donovan talking about 5 years ahead. I think I just want to be a better person. Like, I don't think I'm there yet. I'm pretty close. No, I'm not. Making sure you're paying attention. I think, it's just like, to do another full circle, like redefining my comfort zone with things that I thought I'd never do, and now I'm doing them, right?
Yeah.
And I want to proceed with that. I want to do things that I would not do now, like maybe jump out of a plane. I don't know. But most importantly, to become a better person. I think that's the purpose of all of us, is to love and to leave the world in a better place than how we found it.
Yeah.
And I'm aiming 5 years from now to you know, it's funny, like when you meet somebody when you're dating and they say, what's your 5-year plan? It's like, fuck. Like, oh fuck. Because especially as a creative, like, yo, like I always use this example of like, you're just catching vine, the next vine, you're just swinging through the jungle. Like, okay, this opportunity that leads to this opportunity, and that's always hard to state to somebody who is a traditionalist. And then going back to, like, you know, the way I was raised, I'm finding is very unique to other people who I've dated and are like, oh well, you know, my mom and my dad don't approve of that, and it's like, wait, what? Like, you know, our backgrounds really have a lot to do with who we are, and sometimes it interferes with, you know, potential relationships, because, you know, how you were brought up may differ. God, there's a Frank Ocean line that's slipping through my head. There's a lyric where I wish we were born on the same advice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think about that line, you know, because we all were raised differently.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us who we are. And that's special. But for me, it's just like 5 years, I'm catching vines, you know, the next one, the next one, the next one. And it's crazy because I'm like, you can only do that for so long before, like, you're 70.
Yeah.
And then you might still trying to catch vines at 80. Like, by then, hopefully I catch the corporate vine, you know, and then I could, like, just hire young creatives like yourself that are doing amazing things. And it's funny because, you know, like, I'm going to use a wrestling metaphor.
Yeah.
Because you knew that was coming, brother. Like I watch a lot of wrestling, and I noticed that they always keep the old timers close.
Yeah.
And I realize that they get paid because they're mentors, like Shawn Michaels and Triple H are mentoring the next generation.
Yeah.
And in one's mind, I could see how you're like, oh, but it's a new era. Everything's changed. Like, why are they still around? But it's like their ability to tell a story through the match, through the ring, and for them to teach the next generation, like, you know, hey, check this out. Or also, hey, I was on the road. I remember, stay away from this, stay away from that. Like, there's so much knowledge we can learn from my elders. So how did I get here? It's important for us to listen. So if I become 80 and I'm vine to vine, I hope I can become a teacher.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form to, you know. But also it's weird because the parameters are always changing with what we do.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know, man. I'm just having fun.
I feel that.
My main goal is to be a good dog owner. That's if I can make this guy happy, I'm good.
That's
he just laid on me right now. It's like he listens to the podcast.
So I have one more segment for us.
Okay.
It's called 5 Questions of Freedom.
Okay.
Sponsored by Feel Free to Feel Free.
Is that a real sponsor?
Yeah.
That's dope. I love that.
That's one of my best friends from college.
Say it again.
Feel free to feel free.
free.
And he's a yoga instructor. His name is James, that yoga dude Woods.
That's
Shout out to James. Our first question is radio or podcast?
Podcasts.
Okay. Pharrell or Timbaland?
For real.
Oh, you quick.
No, come on.
Breakdancing or voguing?
Voguing.
Okay.
I mean, there's breakdancing is so, I feel like it's so aggro and battle, whereas Vogue is grace.
Yeah.
It's very zen.
Yeah. What is a reminder that you want to give to Anthony 5 years from now?
Rest and protect your peace.
Okay. And if you could manifest anything on this episode right now, what would it be?
Do you ever see that Tom Cruise movie where he moves things around on the screen? I'm always doing it on my thoughts. Like, I need to move things. Manifest something in the future. To be buff.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be buff.
Okay.
You said 5 years from now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't be 50, but it'll be nice to be like older and like buff.
If it happens, I'll have a clip here and I'll bring it back. Right.
This fool say if. Thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks for your faith. This fool say if.
When it happens, I got you. We got the clip right
Be
here.
prepared. You'll be using it in 3 months. After all the holiday eating.
Oh, shit. Man, Anthony, where can the people find you?
In Venice. Walking my dog. Say hi.
That's true.
It happens.
That's how I found you.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Do people even promote their Facebooks anymore?
Fuck no.
MySpace.
What's your TikTok?
Oh yeah, actually I do have. I don't use it though. At Anthony Valadez on Twitter and everything. At Anthony Valadez Valadez. My dog is at Smedley the Frenchie. He's cool. Yeah, say hi. Don't be shy.
And I'm gonna go ahead and promote it for you too. KCRW in the mornings.
Oh yeah, that's
when
right.
It comes eclectic. Y'all really give me my work soundtrack in the mornings now that I'm working from home.
Yeah.
When I had to go back to work, because when I worked at home during the pandemic and I had to go back to work,
Yeah.
it made me really sad to be at work and miss the show. So now that I'm back
Cool.
working at home.
You can always listen on demand.
That's true.
The internet's a great thing.
That's true.
My dog just farted really bad. I don't know if you smelled it. You were like laughing. I was like, does he smell my dog fart?
No, I did not smell
Okay.
it.
That's Smedley. Woo.
Yeah, it's starting to come through now.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all good. Man, Anthony, thank
Yes.
you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you caught the football and like people are now catching your football.
I appreciate
I feel like
that,
a grandfather of throwing footballs now. Seriously though, remember consistency and quality. And
Yeah.
just execute that. Tell good stories.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Shout out to the sponsor one more time.
Feel free to feel free.
I love that. That's dope.
Thank y'all for listening. This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Peace.
Thank y'all for tuning into this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. If you like what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, rate the podcast, review it, let people know what you think. Let me know what you think. If you would like to be a guest on the show, you can hit up the website, theartoflettinggopodcast.com, and fill out our guest form. If you have a question that you would like to send in like Jorge does every week, shout out to Jorge, you can hit us up on the website as well. Also, if you want to further support the show, we do have merch available. 5-year anniversary merch. Cinco. Make sure you get that. Also, we have a Patreon where we are doing some exclusive episodes along with some weekly check-ins and all kind of cool stuff. I'm at 7 Patreon subscribers right now. I want to have 10 by the end of the year. So if I could get 3 people to subscribe for $3, 3, that's all. I would be so appreciative of that because we are working on growing, and yeah, I would love to have y'all support in that growth. Also, I don't have nothing else for you. So, virtual course. If you want to learn how to podcast, look, I know it's resources out there, but if you want some Mike Brown teaching, it's available on the website, theartoflettinggopodcast.com. And I'm just giving y'all every single tip and tool I have for podcasting, as well as some encouragement, trying to make it so easy that anybody can do it. Shoot, I'm teaching it to kids right now, and they've already created like 8 episodes. So, yeah. Thank y'all for listening. Peace.